I never thought I was going to talk about this topic, but I think that is the time. This is about the moon landings, and I want to talk about it because there is so much fake news, so much misunderstanding about science, and so on that I have to give a speech and also give important information. I'm a polymath, and that is a very simple word that has a very deep meaning, and I will demonstrate that. But first of all, I would like to talk about the difference between a scientific theory and a political theory. Scientific theories are neither true or false, they are just accepted. Political theories lie in a different realm, and they can be called conspiracy theories or whatever. I was talking about the moon, talking about these space missions, you know, I came across something that is now the fashion is the flat earth theories. I do not really care that much whether the earth is round or flat. I do not care, you know. I know a lot. I've got a nautical title. I'm a yacht master offshore. And to me, the earth is round because it can be explained by Coriolis effect, also by spherical triangles that are needed in navigation to calculate the course. But some people just start believing things because they watch a video on YouTube and they do not realize that knowledge is a little bit more complex than 3 minutes of visual effects on a screen. And that is appalling. It is appalling that I have to give some information I've got and some information you can check too, because by no means I want to deliver the ultimate truth about those people that think that the earth is flat. It's all right, but the thing is, I've just seen it's a theory, you know, and theories are compatible in science, flat earth, round earth, triangular earth, they are all compatible, okay? There are some theories that will be closer to reality that one has to bear in mind, but people nowadays have a different mindset about reality, and that is the trouble. And what pisses me off is the need to be right. Why the fuck do you want to be right? You first need to gather some knowledge first, okay? Understand about what you are talking about, and then you may claim you are right or wrong with respect to other people. But first, know about your topic, not know about your videos on YouTube. How many years have you been studying the field? Just few minutes, on YouTube and so on. Like, this is fucking absurd. There are thousands, millions of books with information on mathematics, physics, cosmology, astronomy. People do not open up books. They think that, they contain numbers and letters. There is knowledge. Knowledge is in there, condensed. You can go back. They don't need visuals and music. That is knowledge. It's sad. It's cold. It's knowledge. Okay? Then when you get it, you may apply. You may feel you are more integrated into nature or into reality. And it is then when knowledge becomes warm, becomes precious. But it's because some people are believing that the earth is flat. Okay, don't mind. Now there are so many videos about the NASA, NASA, American Space Agency, that allegedly claim to have put a man on the moon. There are so many videos that demonstrate that, there are fake videos about people in space or in these space stations floating, you know, under zero gravity and so on, and they are just held by cables. It is quite visible, the same as some videos that YouTube took away. I put some back in the year 2011, 2012 on my Facebook, and they were taken away. It was the same fucking story. Just astronauts jump in, but they were like, the cables were almost visible. When I was a kid, I couldn't believe that, because it was, you know, didn't look real to me. I haven't been much of a television kid. I prefer books. But nonetheless, back in 2011, 2012, I was studying biochemistry. I was studying very hard. I was memorizing books. And I tend to relax doing calculations. And at that time, I decided to, because there was a documentary on television, it's like I generally check what is on telly and I switch it off. And it was always the same story, never advancing. It's like television is like 20 years behind internet. And it's gonna be like this, I think. And but anyway, the thing is, I watched a documentary and I switched it off and I started to calculate the amount of fuel needed to go to the moon. A few things like this, the fuel back in the 60s was not as good as the fuel available now. Now there are hypergolic fuels. You can check that. It is very interesting. That give more caloric energy per kilogram or per unit of mass. So you need to put less fuel to get more energy out of your combustible matter. That will save a space and will make your spacecraft to go, farther with less weight. Weight is an issue, even for satellites. It costs a lot of money to put a satellite in orbit, and even grams are an issue, because it can change a lot, the amount of fuel. It has to be loaded. But anyway, I was thinking, okay, a huge load of fuel is needed to go to the moon, but what's about to come back? The same issue. And some other issues about the Van Allen belt of radiation that is between the Earth and the moon. That is a trouble for satellites, but it doesn't seem to be a trouble for astronauts. And many other absurd things, but I reached one that is, a capital one. If you have a look at the suits that the astronauts are wearing, it's like very heavy with assisted breathing, with oxygen, and a backpack with, I don't know, Doritos and Coca-Cola, just if they feel hungry. I don't know what is inside, but they are in museums. I think it contains lead and special fabrics to protect the astronauts from radiation, because the radiation on the surface of the moon is huge. NASA reports that, in their web page, and there are gamma radiation and cosmic rays. In that sense, you can just fry yourself on the surface of the moon if you are unprotected. So the astronauts wear thick gloves and thick clothes. But one thing is very curious is the helmet. And the helmet has a visor that is transparent. Can you tell me? And that is my point. What is the material of that visor that is transparent and it is like absorbing all this dangerous radiation? And that material was invented in the 60s. Whoa, it was like 60 years ago. There were no computers. The mobile phone I'm using now is like probably even is better than the best computer, at the National Space Agency of any country at that time. And, back 60 years ago, I don't think they could have such material, and even less a crystalline material, transparent because the astronauts have to see through, that absorbed all this radiation, protecting the astronauts from these dangerous rays, reaching their brains, reaching their eyes, and inducing immediate cancer and mutations, and probably, I don't know what it could happen to organic matter just exposed directly to cosmic radiation with such power. But the thing is that even the material was curved, it wasn't flat, because, if you synthesize something like a crystal or crystalline material that has certain properties, one of the issues is it might be fragile, it might break, and fragility is an issue, and also to give some shape to that material is another issue, because if it is fragile, it is, kind of tricky to create round surfaces like the high-tech visor the astronauts wear in the helmet. It is like, wow, in the 60s. And if you have a look at the, it just makes me laugh, at the car they put on the moon in the 60s. It was like a Jeep. So much technology for some things, and just you put a simple car. It's like, doesn't make sense at all. But anyway, I'm not gonna get into that description of the engineering of moon vehicles. But I want you to check, please, because I did it back in 2011 and 2012 and I couldn't find a thing. Can you tell me what type of material was that? That is transparent and you can see through, and it can be curved like the round spherical, semi-spherical shape of the helmet, and protect the head. That is the most sensitive part of an astronaut, of a person. Well, I guess some people that haven't got neurons couldn't be that much affected by radiation. But, can you tell me what type of material is that? And another question is, if this material is real, because you might tell me, no, it's a secret. It is like a patent that is kept secret from aliens and from blah, blah, blah. I don't know what the fuck are you going to tell me. Okay? I don't really care. I just want numbers, just a good argument. But if possible, that it is not looping, just one simple line is enough. The same as I'm doing, you know. Why? Can you answer the second question? Why? If this technology existed, why the suit was not made of the same material? Because I think it contained lead. And once I read the composition or the materials, that the moon boots and the trousers and so on, the gloves, you know, were made of, it was like metals, thick layers of materials. But if you can have something like transparent, why don't you put it in the chute? to make it lighter, to make it, more, trendy. Mm. I think, even just it's common sense. If something is working, why are you going to use another material? And please bear in mind that going to the moon and staying there with no protection is like swimming in a pool full of acid, full of hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid. Mhm. It's dangerous. And don't tell me that because you wear gloves or just swimming goggles, you're gonna be protected from this acid. Mm. Because protection needs to be worn for the whole body. So that is a very important issue that I never came across anyone saying a thing about it. And I do not really care that much if they went to the moon, they came back, they went 20 times. What really disappoints me is that it was like useless from a scientific point of view, in the sense that robots could have done, the same job to bring rocks, samples, or measurements. I don't know why people jumping on the surface and driving a car. What's called a mission, scientific mission, because it give a didn't give much information at all compared to what robots can do, or just machinery at that time. Apart from the show, oh, what beautiful, no? It's like hypnotizing people. When people see things on a screen, it's like they lose their hair. It's like the flat Earth. I don't really mind if the Earth is flat, but you know what? The fuck is all the time the same story. Videos and music and so on, and you know, try to be rational. Okay, try to check information. There's no ultimate truth in science. Science is evolving from past mistakes, and human consciousness is evolving. We need to rectify previous theories, but we need to hold them together. All theories are valuable, and there is a word I'm gonna give you: epistemology. And I think I mentioned in the past Karl Popper in some of my previous videos. He asked for a epistemology revision, epistemologic revision of science, away from morals, away from politic issues. Now it is the time, it's 2020, because most of the scientists work for money. They just have a position because they had the chance to grab a seat, but not because they are more skillful than other people, than other independent researchers or scientists. There is a war on consciousness going on, and you are responsible to bear some part of the truth, or at least to participate. Otherwise, you are giving the right to false information, brainwashing, and you are contributing to human manipulation of thoughts and worldwide censorship. That is appalling. I'm 41 years old. I never imagined in my life that I was going to be censored. I'm a PhD in chemistry and expert in toxicology. I might be right or wrong. If I'm wrong, I can admit, I'm not perfect. But it doesn't give people the right to censor me. Okay? do your homework about it and tell me that precious, transparent material that absorbs cosmic and gamma radiation at in the 60s, because that is so cool. And nothing else was done with such material. They could have done, I don't know, key rings, sunglasses, swimming trunks. I don't know. Just think a little bit, because there's so many lies around, so many fake people. Try not to be fake. We live only once, and it is the best experience. Even if we are not great people, if we are not fake, it is felt as a precious treasure one can have above money and any other thing you might think of. Use your head and your heart, and you will go far. Now it is a time for a change. Thanks for watching.